Hi guys, welcome to episode 5 of Us Afters. Let's do that again. We are on to episode... Hi everyone, welcome back to Afters with Joe and Chelsea. We are on to episode 5 of Afters now, into the second episode of gut health.
How exciting.
Today we're going to look at what microbiome is, that big word that gets used a lot around your gut. We're also going to look at some fun facts about gut health before discussing some podcasts and books for you guys at home to listen to.
Yeah, let's get to it. What is the microbiome?
So, microbiome, they are microorganisms that live in your gut, so in your environment of your gut. So something that Tim Spector talks about quite a lot is it being a jungle community. So it's like a community of bugs in your stomach,
in your lower intestine and
your colon.
Yeah.
That kind of are our lifeline, really, that we're starting to learn that we wouldn't be here without them.
So not micro, this is again from Tim Spector. So these bugs that live in our intestine and colon, they pump out chemicals into our body, thousands of chemicals every minute, as long as they're being fed the right things.
Yeah.
And it's these chemicals that affect our body and our brain.
Yeah. So some of the major things that microbiome do for us is protecting us against germs and harmful bacteria. They break down food to release energy, and they also produce vitamins that allow us to function and be healthy.
This is obviously when they are balanced and they're healthy and you've got the right amount of good bacteria in your gut. And chemicals that they pump out include things like serotonin and dopamine.
Yeah.
So really good.
Yeah,
for you.
Really, really good. A fun fact of these microbiome, you have over 1 billion of them in your gut at one time. You can ingest millions at a time through some probiotic foods and other gut-friendly foods. But if you were to put all of these microbiome in your gut into a particular formation, it would weigh the same as your brain.
You love that fact, don't you?
How many are in your gut, which is just phenomenal. Like, you can't see them, but if you put them all together at the same time, it'd be the weight of your brain.
Amazing.
A lot of the scientists are saying it's the new organ that we've never really known too much about. So it's really important for every part of your life, really.
Yeah, central to your body functioning.
Yeah.
Which we will explore more of now.
Yeah, so you made a really good point about them being important for releasing chemicals that affect the brain. So things like the hormones of happiness and depression and...
Yeah, so I think one of the things that really struck me, and again this is referring to the Tim Spector podcast, is just how much what is going on in your gut affects every part of you. And going back to food, because obviously that, this is what our main emphasis is for this episode. Feeding your microbiome the right stuff pumps out the chemicals. It's just mind-blowing because the human body is just so amazing, isn't it? It pumps out chemicals that your body then needs to function. So it pumps out these living things inside us are there to pump these chemicals out because, Mother Nature knew that they being inside our gut pumps out the chemicals that we need to function. So when we are feeding our gut the wrong foods and they're not getting the nutrients that they need, they are still pumping out chemicals, but those chemicals are not working well with our body. And there's now been studies that directly link depression and anxiety to an imbalanced, unhappy gut, which is huge. And I don't know why more people aren't talking about it, because depression and anxiety is at the highest that it's ever been.
Yeah. And it's most likely down to this ultra-processed food, isn't it?
Which we will delve deeper into, is everywhere.
Yeah.
You just can't escape it, even
So
when you think
just
you
for
are.
listeners at home, ultra-processed food, you've probably got an idea of what it is, but it's basically when you take a particular food and you put it through a process to get it, refine it into something different. So if you take, probably the best example would be like tortilla wraps. So that is made from corn. So you get corn from
Corn on the cob.
corn cob, like a plant in the field. It is then refined down and refined and processed to come out like a wrap. That is not the food that you have got on the original source. That it looks nothing like it. And then you go down the kind of big companies of McDonald's, KFC, all their food, like look at the chicken nuggets in McDonald's. That is ultra processed food.
But even something hidden like margarine and butter. So butter is obviously churned.
Yeah.
And comes from dairy. Margarine is refined and processed to create what feels and tastes like butter, but it's not.
Yeah, it's when the food companies mess around with the kind of the setup and the way stuff is made to kind of still include certain amount of calories and certain amount of macronutrients.
That's the buzzword.
Yeah.
The banned word.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in our next topic. Yeah, I think you've pretty much covered what I was going to say on the kind of the chemicals and the way that it does affect the body. But I think one of the other ones was the chemicals that are released when you want to be hungry and when you need to stop being hungry. So ghrelin and leptin, that is also affected by the microbiome. So if you're not eating the right things, a prime example would be you take a tub of Pringles, you've eaten a couple of Pringles, you've actually consumed the same amount of calories that you consume in, let's say, an apple.
Yeah.
But because of the satiation, let me get this right, the way it fills your body up and your brain kind of says, I've had enough food. When that leptin gets released, that is not being released from your gut because your gut the microbiome isn't getting those same foods that are helping you to do that.
Right.
So it's massive. Like the microbiome is massive for controlling it or helping control everything.
Yeah. And I think as well, when you've come from a place of gut issues and just feeling completely helpless, discovering your gut microbiome and what you can do to restore its balance is massive. And I think it's one of those things where, we never really understood it or took it seriously until you start doing it and you actually feel and see the impact that it's having. It is life-changing, isn't it?
It's huge, yeah.
Which is why it's so important.
Yeah, massively important. And I think just echoing what you said there, everyone is different as well. Like me and you are different. Yeah, we've gone on this gut-friendly journey together to eat and try and drink these new things for gut health, but we still don't respond the same. So everyone needs to find what works for them.
And I also think something that's really worth mentioning here is we live in a society where the blame is often put on us
massively
for not eating right, for not doing enough exercise, for the failings that we have in our own bodies and our diets and everything else. We live in a society where by putting that blame on the individual, the big companies and the hierarchy of the food chain get to keep us in that situation, if that makes sense. So then there's constantly a cycle of pumping out new foods that, oh, this is good for you, and you just need to do this, rather than it being a community thing.
A lifestyle change choice.
You know, these companies need to change. It's, if you walk into a supermarket, when you start this, you know, gut house journey, you will suddenly realise how trapped we are in this processed world that we live in. Most things in the supermarket come in a packet and are ultra processed. And the stuff that isn't, you have to walk past all the stuff that is to get to it.
Massive.
And that's the issue I think that we face, and a lot of people face today, that, you know, it's what is good for you, what isn't good for you, what are we supposed to eat, and every advert on the TV, social media, everything is telling us something different, and making it our responsibility and our fault.
Yeah, massively. Completely agree. The thing as well I want to talk about microbiome is there's a massive phase, or has been for the last 5 years, on fasting. We're going to talk about that more in later topics, because it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this does directly link to microbiome in your gut. So when we've been on this journey, I've felt like we've linked other things together to have a whole lifestyle change. So we've not just done the gut-friendly diet, we've obviously looked at other things to link in with that, and one of those was fasting. So when you're giving your gut the time to recover and repair itself and get ready for the next day of food intake, which is allowing the gut wall to rest, and kind of the inflammation goes down from you've eaten, and you've given yourself enough time between your last meal before you go to sleep and before your first meal when you wake up.
Yeah, and that is how our journey started, really, isn't it? Like, we kind of moved on to the food after that. And I'll have to remember the podcast that we first listened to about that. We'll link it in. But I suppose our journey started with a podcast where the scientists explained that your gut and your body, just like your brain resets and washes everything out and gets rid of all those proteins, the buildup of proteins when you sleep, stores memories, all that kind of thing, the rest of your body is also doing work when you sleep. And one of those parts of your body is your gut. And giving yourself 14 hours, they say, to allow your body to do what it's supposed to do. It's almost like, they say, it's almost like little workers. They come out at a certain point and they, flush everything out. They clean the lining. Yeah, they clean the lining of your
on those streets
gut.
On a lad's girl's holiday in the morning, when they're hosing down the streets.
Washing away the regrets of the day before, which is the case, isn't it, with bad food?
It is, no, it is. Yeah. You have that takeaway and you're regretting it. It's great for that first 10 seconds. 20 seconds.
And I think, and that was the starting point first, because that wasn't hard. Like, if you finish eating at, 7, you will have your breakfast the next day at 9, which isn't a massive, it's not a massive change. But in just doing that, I certainly did, felt the benefits of just not being as bloated and as sore when I woke up. And, then having that first meal, it's like my gut was like happy.
Yeah. I can't begin to explain how many benefits I've seen just from this change in diet and fasting.
Yeah.
I'll quickly reel a couple of them off, but I feel like before I was thinking, I have to eat before I go to school because I need the energy throughout the day to be able to perform and be able to do my job properly. I'd then have another meal at school, at break time. I'd then have my lunch, then I'd have a snack when I got home, and I'd have dinner. So I'm having way too many meals that I need for my body. Other people might need more if you're doing different sports or different jobs or whatever, but I didn't need that. So then I went and changed this gut-friendly diet, and I looked at fasting. So I was having my first meal at around break time at school, which was around 9:30 to 10 a.m. And before that, I just felt this buzz of energy. Like I had a lot more energy. I was going to get worried that I'd be hungry and I'd be getting in a mood, but I just had this laser focus that I didn't have before. Obviously, some people don't feel that, but I had a massive change in my energy. My sleep was better, so I wasn't kind of.
All links.
I wasn't getting too much disrupted sleep. We tried to kind of eat a little bit earlier before going to sleep, but sometimes life gets in the way.
Yeah.
So that does help as well. And then I'd say my physical, bit like what you said there, like the inflammation, a lot of times I'd wake up and I wasn't hungry and I'd still eat.
Yeah.
Because it's so ingrained in our society.
Wake up,
You
breakfast.
have to have breakfast when you wake up before school because it'll give you energy. No, it's absolute rubbish. You can survive on the energy from the meals the day before until...
And also just from having a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And your body resetting itself.
It's absolute rubbish. Like that energy isn't providing you up for the day, because you think back to primitive times, people weren't even eating until after midday because they need to go out and get the food. So it's come from this classic American cereals and British cereals brands of breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You need to eat it in the morning.
Are we busting that myth?
Busting that myth. So yeah, I mean it's been massive for my gut health. I don't get any issues having done that going forward.
And that kind of just spiraled, didn't it? To us looking at the foods that we were eating and what works for both of us. And I think the beauty of this is there is no one size fits all. And that's what I love about gut health, because there isn't follow this and you'll feel amazing, have energy, and you lose this fat and you feel refreshed. That it is literally what works for you.
Yeah.
What foods work for you, what amount of time for fasting works for you. It really is just a journey where you can, there is no right or wrong. You have a bad day and it's like, that's not wrong because that's your journey.
Yeah.
You might decide, this food that I'm eating, I do have a sugar spike, or, and you can change it depending on yourself. There is no one person saying, no, you have to stick to this, you have to do this. Otherwise, it's wrong and you're a bad person.
Yeah, massive.
And that's maybe why we've enjoyed it so much and why we've got as far as we have, because there isn't a comparison. We're not looking at something and going, oh, we've not done that. I feel really shit now.
Yeah.
And even between me and you, we don't follow the same, journey, the same fasting times, the same foods, and...
But yeah, just finding what works for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it just brings an excitement to food and life again, because...
You really look at food and drink differently, don't you?
Yeah.
Right, it's not this... Don't get me wrong, we all enjoy food, and you're lying if you don't, because there's always something that you look forward to eating. It's a very sociable thing to do.
Yeah.
Go out for food, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Brings people together.
It's an occasion, like barbecues, it's seasonal. But if you just kind of take a step back and look at how much it can influence your health, then you're going to see massive changes that we have.
Yeah.
Last thing on microbiome before we talk about what we've listened to and what people can
Yeah,
listen
because
to.
you should all go and listen to this. It's amazing.
Something that I picked up from one of the podcasts was about the gut microbes. There's not been a lot of studies done on them, apart from this guy called Tim Spector, who is leading the way on kind of gut microbes and gut-friendly diets and how it affects people. But he found this out by pure chance, by looking at twin studies. So he'd be getting twins together and looking at what's different, what is
Why
their
is
own,
one ill, one isn't?
why is, everything is identical, but one person is getting cancer, one person is not, one person is getting this disease or illness, this person's not. And the only thing he and his other scientists can find is the gut microbes that are different, even in an identical twin. Now, what is slightly worrying is these big companies that rule the world of food and diet and nutrition, they are not allowing funding to go into these studies to find out what is the kind of correlation between processed food and gut health. So a lot of these scientists that have managed to do the studies are having to fund it themselves, because these other big companies are going to know they're going to get found out. So the thing that I found, which was ridiculous, was that only 3 years ago was the first controlled trial on ultra-processed food and gut health. Now, how long's processed food been involved?
Since like the 80s.
Since the 1980s.
Yeah.
So, and then another scary thing is, we get told this is more to do with nutrition, but it's linked to gut health. But what people are told is to have a low calorie or a sweetener or less sugar to make it healthier. But for example, sweeteners have never been tested on. So we don't actually know what these sweeteners are doing to our guts or our bodies. So on the can it's 0 calories, but it's got all these ridiculous ingredients in that we don't have a clue what they mean.
This is the scary thing, because, I'll put my hands up. I don't drink them regularly, but I will have a, kind of Coke, for example, if we're having a takeaway or something like that.
You're already off the wagon, so. Why not throw a bit more on?
And I've never drank diet drinks. I don't drink them enough to warrant drinking diet drinks anyway. But if I ever have one, it's usually only ever Coke, and it would just be a full fat Coke. And the thing that surprised me the most is essentially diet or 0 calories or 0 sugar. They're allowed to say that on the can because they're not using real sugar. But in order to get the taste, in order for the flavour, in order for that sweetness, they have to put in sweeteners or fake sugars, which are essentially chemicals. The biggest thing, again, this is from the Tim Spector podcast, is that these companies are not actually legally obliged to rigorously test these chemicals and these sweeteners that they put in these drinks and how they react to our microbiome or our guts. So they're putting these cans on the shelf, 0 calories, no sugar. You're picking up and thinking, great, this is great for me, as opposed to drinking a can of sugar. But actually there is no studies and there's no evidence, there's nothing to inform you what are those chemicals doing to your insides.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? But hopefully people at home have kind of got more of an idea of what microbiome is and what are
the biggest thing is if you eat to keep your gut happy, you automatically are living a healthy diet. Because in order for your gut to be happy, you have to have a variety of plants and foods, plants. And it's just hand in hand, isn't it? Like if you eat for a happy gut, you'll be eating healthily.
Yeah. Next week we're going to do the plant bingo, aren't we? See who's going to be able to name more plants.
Yes, so one of the things that Tim Spector talks about is eating 30 different plants a week, which probably does sound like a lot to the everyday person. And we like to write down, don't we, at the end of the week, like what we've eaten, because plants actually relate to, herbs, spices, fruit, vegetables, seeds, nuts. So there's so much food that is a plant.
Yeah.
So we're going to test ourselves next week, aren't we? Do a little plant bingo.
Yeah.
Chelsea's going to win.
Not Chelsea. So then, where can we find all this amazing information that we've probably butchered by the way we've said it? Probably not said it right, have we? But where can we find the professionals?
Yeah, I mean, we've done that down massively, haven't we? But if this intrigues you even remotely, then get yourself onto, is it the Diary of a CEO?
Diary of a CEO and High Performance Podcast.
High Performance Podcast. And how many scientists have we listened to now? Do you want to reel some off?
So I think the biggest one was probably Tim Spector, as he's doing he's got a company called Zoe, which can now track your blood sugar level spikes and regulation, which can help you inform a better diet. But
which is personalised, isn't it?
Personalised, but he was basically the one that's found this in the difference in twins with your gut health, gut microbiome. So he's
a great starting point, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very easy to listen to as well.
He's got Instagram as well, where he shows loads of recipes, how to make a load of fermented things yourself. Yeah. He's brilliant.
Your favourite? What's her name?
Dr. Mindy.
Dr. Mindy Pells.
You'll probably hear her a lot throughout our podcast, because I do.
I think she's really good for women though. Like
she's brilliant.
She's really she opens up a lot of kind of things that maybe can help women.
And I think also she opens a lot of doors for men to understand women and hormones and things like that. She's more fasting, but she does still talk about gut health and foods.
Again, a little bit more towards nutrition, and processed food, but he does talk about gut health. Is Chris Van Tollecken, who some of you might recognise the name. He used to be a presenter, didn't he?
He is more on the processed food, isn't he? He really explains what it is these companies are doing to essentially manipulate us, to trap us in this cycle of buying this food over and over again.
Yeah. And then another one would be Dr. Will Cole, my performance podcast, Diary of CEO of Stephen Bartlett, who talks a lot about different foods that are affecting our bodies and our gut. But yeah, like we said, we'll put all the links in our podcast information part, and we'll put them on the Instagram as well, so people can have direct access to those.
Yes.
What was the book you read as well? The links to gut by Dr. Mindy Pells.
Fast Like a Girl.
Fast Like a Girl.
It's a great one for, I suppose, men and women, but for women as well. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for listening. Really, really appreciate your support as always.
Yes.
We are getting very excited for the next episode, which is going to be looking at the plant bingo. Maybe comment below this podcast to see who's going to win. Do you think it's going to be me who's going to be able to name more plants?
Or is it going to be me being the vegetarian? I think I have to win this one, don't I?
Yeah, maybe the pre-favourite would be you. The bookie's favourite would be you. But I mean, I won the first one, so I'm not losing.
You've got more at stake.
Pardon pun. Yeah, thank you very much for listening, guys, and we shall see you next week.